Now, my idea with the magnets and all that work, the other part, the grenade launcher, it was going to cause problems with the position of the magnets and damage them. I had the magnets would have to be glued in this slot, and putting that other thing down there would just tear them out. So instead of that, what I've done, hopefully you can see that, I just simply put 4 of the smallest Nerf screws I could find in there, and they're sticking through. So it just slots in. It's a pretty tight fit, but that means it won't wobble around when it's on the gun. So what I'm going to do, actually glued, I'll then be covering these bits with a bit of flat plastic. Even have a hole there for a sling swivel or something. Now the next job is making the magazine. I've been putting this off because it's going to be big, but it's not going to be too hard. I took one of the magazines apart today. So what I'm planning to do is, now the magazine isn't wide enough to cover the whole box, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to hook it over the front, somewhat like that, and then there'll be a flat sheet across there. This will be trimmed to come up and join just here. This, as you know, this line here on all the magazines is where it mates with the bottom of the gun. That's where it's flush. So as long as I keep everything below that line, I'm fine. So they're going to be like that at the front on either side, and at the back I'm going to have to cut out a couple of scallops just so they fit close enough. And what I might do, actually, since this is only held on by screws, take that off, put that on a piece of plastic, sketch around it or score a line around it so I've got a template I can use, then put this back together. Yeah, so magazine piece either side, plastic down there, filling in that, plastic up here, coming up to here, and we'll have our little box magazine. Right guys, on to hopefully the last big job, which is building this box around the existing magazine. So what I've got is a 10 rounder or 6 rounder, whatever it is. Cut it out, shape the back for this curve. It's just going to sit on the front like that, hence the line, so I know where to put the goo. So what I've done, I've put some straight lines on the edge of this table using my square. Clamp this bit of wood here so I've got somewhere to butt it up against. So I'm just going to put that in there and that in there like that, so they're sitting over the front. Put it in and just put the glue on just that front bit for the moment, and make sure the sides of these magazines are lined up with these lines. So once that's set, it should be relatively straight and square. As usual, the first step is to acetone everything. Put that one in. Now, just making sure that the outside of these magazines are lining up with those lines, which they are, that's why I put this bit of wood here, so I could get everything lined up on the base and then align them with the wood. So everything's right there now. So later on there's a front bit to glue on, a back bit that I've got to cut, especially the glue on, which I'll do. I'll cut the hole and just have the plastic out the right size and just lower it on and trim the edges, and I'll do the same with the front. So there we go. Frail as anything, but it slips over, fits in all the right places. I mean, that notch there is lining up really well. So what I'm going to do is just glue it down along the bottom edge top edge, and then just use tape to hold these bits in place, and that's just glued on with this stuff, nothing else. And I've actually picked up the rifle bite and it's been perfectly fine. So get that in place, and just some general stickiness of the tape to hold everything down. Wax paper on the top of this. I put my plasticine and pressed it down. You can see it's made the impressions of where the shapes will go. So this is a dry one, so I know it's going to work. One, I'm going to put some epoxy putty in, I can push it down. But two, I'm now going to weigh the plasticine to work out how much epoxy putty I actually need. There's my digital scales, and I need 33 grams. Okay, what I'm going to do, now that I've got that on, I'm going to tape this in place until the epoxy putty goes off, because I'm counting on the wax paper not to let it stick to the plastic, and if it does, it should be relatively easy just to tap it clear. Almost forgot the great unveiling of the epoxy. Let's see if this is going to come off, or I've totally miscalculated and it's stuck there forever. Now look at that. Okay. Excellent. So I've got nice hard epoxy, nice hard surfaces. So the next thing is to, what I thought I'd do is get some paint and put tiny little spots on the epoxy, then press it onto this where I want it to go, and we should get some transfer. Geez, quite a nice fit. These two are acting as like soft fingers over that. It almost stays there without wobbling. Might only have to put like 1, 2, 3 magnets in. What I want to get is just a little blob of paint that hopefully will sit up proud and touch the surface when I put this in. Okay, let's give it a go, shall we? I'm pressing very hard to get a transfer. Oh, look at that, there we go. So I've got a couple of blobs there. I've got a rough blob there. I'm not sure exactly where it goes, but I'll work it out. Right guys, so there we have our 3 little magnets. 1, 2, 3. And what I'll do, I'll wait till they're dry, then put the paint on them and then push it into this, make the marks again, because the white paint on one side ran a bit, so just makes sense just to do it again and get it right. We'll work on mounting these extra magnets. So there's the white paint left from yesterday. There's my magnets glued in nice and tight, and it also clips on there like that. Wobbles a bit, so with the magnets it should be pretty good. So what I'm going to do, I've got some nice bright blue paint. There we go, that's all I'll need. I'm going to put a tiny dot on each one of those magnets, then press it onto the surface, and hopefully we'll get some transfer. Want quite a little pile, so we do get a mark. But I reckon the way this is working out, this one, with this unintentional gripping of this feature, with this thing gripping this, it's going to be pretty solid. So press it down, take it off, and we've got 3 blue marks. So what I'm going to do is grab my really sharp bladed knife, and I'm going to just twist a little scar, a cut, a hole in there. So it's like centre punching in plastic, but without the actual hammer and crashing, and oh bugger, I broke the plastic. Well, that one's going to be fun because that went all the way through, so I'm going to have to be very careful gluing into that one. So what I'm doing now, clean the paint off these magnets. Reason being for that is going to take some magnets and get them to stick. There we go. So by getting them to stick to the magnets that's already in there the right way around, like that, I just take that one out and glue it straight in that hole the way it is presenting itself. That way I'm not going to have the magnets sort of repelling each other. So there's my 3 little magnets stuck on there, 2, 3, and what I'll do is I'll take them, turn them upside down and glue them straight into these holes with the Maraldite. And I'll do that now, get it done. So voila, there we have our 3 little magnets. Won't point them out with anything metal because they'll stick to it. So 1, 2, 3. I know off there and everything, but when they're painted they'll never be noticed, and tomorrow we'll find out if it actually works and these things just jump together. Right guys, my little magnet idea. Well, somehow I managed to get them out of alignment, so it does work. But I have to really push it forward just a bit so they're in alignment, so it's pretty solid. And I've had to actually put an extra magnet in there, so not like I need to glue it because it's not going to go anywhere, but that's good. Now, I'm at that stage where I can start prepping this thing for paint. And just a lesson in paying attention, when I started doing this, I watched Adam Savage's. He did a one-day build. He did a long strike for somebody. And he said when he comes to painting, he uses a scouring pad, which is what I thought he meant with this, one of these green rubbery plastic things. So I've been using that for years and it's worked fine. But I recently watched the video again, and he actually has a scouring pad that shape, but made out of steel wool. So, I missed something, but happy accident, this still seems to work. But this will probably get in places as well. Yeah, barely have to touch the surface and it marks it. So really, that's about the extent of my surface prep. That's all I do. Just go over it, make sure I've touched it everywhere. And really you can see how the plastic's just going a little bit dull. And even with all that rubbing, that magnet hasn't come off. Let me just remove that, drop it there, do that, and put it back. And these things always go back the right way up. So, I'm going to start sanding all this, and then we can move on with paint. So, excitement.